everybody, this is Christopher Brower here with Daily Motor, and today we're driving the 2022 Cadillac CT4 V Blackwing. A bit of a mouthful, but Cadillac made this a little bit confusing for us last year when they separated the V and the V Blackwing, but the easiest way to think of this car is the evolution of the old ATS V. This is the full V. Blackwing means this is the real deal. This one is finished in electric blue. It's got all kinds of carbon fiber rear diffuser, carbon fiber spoiler. Look at the angle of that thing. That is fantastic. We've got carbon fiber side skirts. We've got a front lip as well with canards. Is that what those are called? I'll give myself a pat on the back if I'm right. Anyways, though, I think Cadillac has nailed it with the styling, and they've nailed it with the performance too. But before we get to the driving part of this car, let's take a look on the inside, because the interior is absolutely stunning as well. We'll start in the back seat here. It's a little bit cramped, but bear with me as I climb in here. Oh. Everything is made okay, though, when you see that the entire back of the seat is covered in Alcantara, even with the little V logo pressed in right there. That is fantastic. It makes up for the fact that the back seat is a little bit cramped. I'm 5'11", and this driver's seat is in my driving position. And if I have my legs straight up, I'm absolutely pressed into the back of the seat. But if I kind of sit like this, it's really not so bad, especially if you pull down the armrest, which reveals 2 cup holders. I'm not too bad back here. My head is touching the ceiling, but I do have a camera on my face, so that might explain why that is. Oh yes, and my backpack. So let's just go ahead and buckle it in with our torch red seat belts. Oh yes. There we go. Now it's nice and secure. Won't go rolling around when we're going around corners. Also, USB-C port and just an old school car charger port. Not too crazy of a back seat, but that's really not the point of this car. Plus, it's a pretty small vehicle overall. And I think for what it is, it's not too bad. I would just sit back here and pet the Alcantara the whole time, or just pet the Alcantara on the headliner. All right, anyways, enough Alcantara talk. Let's move up to the front seat and start this thing up. Oh, before I shut the door, let's fire it up. Not too crazy. It is warm right now, so we didn't get a wildly loud cold start, but we'll put the exhaust into loud mode or track mode here. Give you a couple revs. It is warmed up. Quite a raspy V6 noise there. I'm not always the biggest fan of V6 sound, but I think in this setting, it actually sounds really good. As far as infotainment goes, we do have wireless Apple CarPlay. I've just got my phone plugged in currently, but the CarPlay fits the screen very nicely. Overall infotainment, it's pretty good, just normal GM stuff. We'll get back to that in just a second. But I must say, this steering wheel is the first thing I noticed when I got into the car. It's beautiful. We've got our 12 o'clock marker here in red. We've got this really nice glossy carbon fiber here at the bottom. And if you haven't already noticed, this Blackwing is fitted with a proper 6-speed manual transmission. The best part of the car overall. I love it. And check these seats out. These are a $5,000 option. Very nice white, or light gray as they call it, material here. Quilted, perforated, red piped. We've even got a little metal Blackwing badge here on the seat, and we've even got the V logo here on the headrest, and of course the torch red seat belts, which are a separate option. Fully digital cluster here in this Blackwing, and I love the way that it looks. On the left, we've got all of our readouts to make sure you're paying attention to temperatures and pressures of your car. It even tells me that my tires are cool. Before we get out on the road, there's one last thing I want to show you concerning the drive modes and all of the different customization you can do in this car. It's like playing a video game. I feel like it's going to be like Forza, where it pops up and tells me how much of a percentage of bonus I have for selecting a certain drive mode. So there's actually 2 customizable modes in this car. We've got My Mode, which is navigated from this mode selector down here. I've got mine set to max engine sound, good brake feel, good steering feel, and a soft suspension. Or there's V Mode, which you can select from the button on the left side of the steering wheel here. This is more of a full track mode. You can adjust your traction control in this, which you can't do in My Mode. You have to do that via this selector here. But V mode puts everything into one spot, so you've got an easy press of a button, and you don't have to worry about messing with these two switches down here. So that's kind of neat. Is it over the top? I think so, maybe a little. Cadillac makes all of their drive modes very complicated all of the time, but I guess it's all right. It kind of reminds me of like the old school M cars where you could adjust a million different things in them, and I suppose you still can. But I guess that kind of covers everything I wanted to cover while parked. We'll get into the rest while we're on the road. So let's take this thing out on the daily motor test route and see what it's like to drive. Parking brake is over here on the left. It's just a button. Put your foot on the brake and you can hear it release there. On and off are the same, press for both. And that's it. We've also got our rev match button down here, which I'm going to put on because I like to have the car auto rev match for me. You can go ahead and leave your hate comments now, but it makes me feel like a hero. And who doesn't like to feel like a hero while they're driving? So this CT4 Blackwing is powered by a 3.6 liter twin turbocharged V6. Now that might not sound like a lot, but this thing has 472 horsepower and 445 foot-pounds of torque, which means it can do 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds, right about that 3.9 mark. Oh, traction control really kicking in there. And this 6-speed manual is just glorious. Seriously, one of the best feeling clutch shifter transmission combinations I've felt in a while. It feels truly like a proper driver's car. And that's so nice to have in 2022. I hope that you can hear that on camera. This thing has all kinds of wild exhaust pops and burbles. If I'm being honest, it is a little bit obnoxious. When you're at low speed, low revs, it sounds like thunder coming from the back of the car. It's all these very bassy burbles that just continue from about 4,000 to 2,000 RPM. It'll only do that if you've got it in, you know, the loudest engine setting. If you're just in tour mode, it doesn't annoy you with all of the sounds. All right, Van, which lane are you picking? Easy to just rocket through gears in this thing. It's not like a BMW M car where it gives you grief for shifting it fast. I mean, you can seriously row gears in this car and it just loves it. It takes it. The auto rev matching system is precise and sharp. Never feel like I'm hurting the car. I mean, third to second effortlessly, no jerk at all. We got a really nice snap on there too. All right, we've got full traction control on right now. You can see they're preventing me from getting sideways. The pops around 5,000 RPM are really, really cool. The really low-pitched, bassy ones, they never go away, but you get some higher-pitched snaps at higher RPMs. All right, let's go now into full-on track mode. This will leave my traction control on. As you can see, I have to adjust that manually with this dial here, which kind of reminds me of Ferrari, the way that they've fitted this, and that may have been their goal as well. So if that was their goal, Cadillac, I have noticed. All right, so inactive is what it sits at normally. You can go into wet mode, dry mode, sport traction mode, race 1 and race 2. I like to stay in sport traction control because it lets you feel like a hero without messing it up. Or at least I think. I haven't messed it up yet in sport traction. Oh, a little bit of a rough ride there. Yeah, you see there, it stopped me before I could loop it all the way around. Ooh, and you know what? While we have some open road, let's stop and do a launch control next to this no dumping sign. Launch control is pretty simple. Put it in first gear, foot down on the accelerator. It sounds crazy, and then hold on. This thing is so quick. And it's exhilarating to drive. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Man, from that Jeep 392 last week to this week, we've had a couple of good weeks with just exciting cars. I love driving a car that you wake up in the morning, you know it's in the driveway, and you're thinking, yes, yes, I want to go have some of that. I want to go out for a drive. And this car really, really eggs you on to drive spiritedly. I cannot explain how nice it is to have a proper driver's car in 2022. It's just so fantastic. Ooh, struggling there for traction. The roads might be getting a little bit slippery. It's kind of drifting snow, so we'll keep that in mind. That throttle response is absolutely brutal in track mode. And I mean, at this speed, the car just doesn't care. Oh my gosh. And then you put your foot down. Oh! Woo! It's like letting a lion break out of a cage. All of the sounds it makes, the aggressiveness of the throttle response. Oh man. I haven't driven anything that reminds me of my personal Porsche Cayman S in so long, and I think by modern standards, this definitely does. Not really overall the way that it drives, it doesn't remind me of the Porsche, but the way that it reacts to inputs, the sharpness of the steering, the snappiness of that throttle response, even the feel of the clutch and shifter, they all kind of remind me of my Porsche, and that's high praise for this car. Man, what a thing. Seriously. Cadillac, you've knocked it out of the park. I am just so in love with the driving experience in this Blackwing. Slow over the bumpy part. The ride's a bit stiff, but when you put it in tour mode, it calms down quite a bit, and it's actually quite a smooth ride. I've just got it in track mode right now, so it's doing its best to be tracky. Been averaging a solid 12 mpg, but if you're actually curious what this thing gets in a proper highway fuel economy test, make sure to check out Charlie's video concerning that. Oh man, okay, well, now that I'm done making squeaking sounds and done having the fizz, let's talk about pricing and kind of where this car fits into the market. So the standard CT4 V, which isn't what this is, only has a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. Think of that as more of a V Sport. This actual Blackwing car, which is now the full V, starts at about $59,000. And that gets you the 6-speed manual transmission, everything performance-wise that I have here in this car, except this particular car is $77,000, mostly because of these light gray performance seats, all of the carbon fiber bits on the outside and on the inside. That alone is like $15,000 in options. So then what does that mean for where it fits into the market? Well, it doesn't quite compete with the BMW M3 because it's a little bit smaller, but it also doesn't compete with the M2 because of course that car's a 2-door and it has less power. So it kind of fits in between those in kind of the same way it fits between an Audi RS3 and an RS5, or a Mercedes CLA and a C63. I don't know, the way that they've positioned this is a little bit confusing because of course there's also the CT4 V Blackwing, which has a V8 motor, but you can also have that with a manual transmission as well, and that one kind of sits between an M3 and an M5, or a C63 and an E-Class AMG. It's all very confusing, but I don't care. I'm not concerned about any of that because for $59,000, I would absolutely have one of these all day. I don't really think you need any of the crazy options that this car has because the driving experience is the same no matter what. And this thing is just fun. I'll tell you what it is. It's exciting. And I love an exciting car in today's market. It's so refreshing. What do you say we do one more launch control in front of Bronco jail? I think so. God, this car is so confidence inspiring, it's almost scary. I feel like the best driver in the world in this thing. Oh man. If you want something you can get up, be excited to drive every day, take to the track on weekends, and honestly probably have a pretty reliable experience, have one of these, man. Seriously, as far as 2022 goes, this is probably the best thing you're gonna find for $59,000 brand new out of the bag. Thank you, GM, for making this car. In a way though, it makes me a little bit sad because this is kind of feeling like a last hurrah, seeing the way that everything's going in the automotive industry. Cars like this will just not be around much longer, and that's really just the sad truth of it, especially the CT4 V Blackwing with the V8, which we'll hopefully be driving later this year. Cars like this are almost extinct, and I'm very thankful that I'm living in the generation where I'm able to drive these cars as they're new, but it is really sad. Don't get me wrong, I love EVs, but I'll always love a good, proper internal combustion engine, manual transmission driver's car, and that's exactly what this Cadillac is. All right, everyone, well, that's going to wrap up our drive today of this CT4 V Blackwing. I never want to stop driving this car. Wish I could have this as a permanent in my garage. Cadillac, can we have one? Can we please have one? Unfortunately, I'm not the only journalist that has gone all goo goo gaga over this car. Very, very high praise for these Blackwings, and very, very high praise for Cadillac. Thank you for giving us these cars, even if they are just a last hurrah. Now's the time to get one of these though, folks, because I don't think they will ever do much depreciating. Oh yes, did my child survive? Ah, they did, and is still nice and buckled in. Didn't fall out of the seat there. Good quality red seat belts. Haha. All right, everyone, well, thanks for coming on this ride with me today. It's been a fun one. Can't wait to do the CT4 V Blackwing. But this thing is just such a joy. Kind of would maybe see myself liking this one even better. All right, well, anyways, again, thank you so much for watching. This has been Christopher Brower here with Daily Motor. And as always, drive on.